How to peacefully depose a murderous dictatorship. I would imagine the very first step is raising as much awareness as possible with irrefutable evidence of the murderous nature of said dictatorship. In this case, it is Cuba. At least for me, that's where my family's from, and it's a shame. It's a shame that despite worse dictatorships going on in the world right now, in terms of just abominable human rights abuses, like what's going on in China, especially with the Muslim Uyghur camps, North Korea, Syria, if there's anything left of that nation, throughout Mexico. Mexico is more of a corruption of the highest levels. Venezuela. I know there's worse going on, but that's the problem. That there's only so much time and energy that we have. And I naturally gravitate towards Cuba because that's where my family is from. My parents were from there. My whole family is from there. And we still have some family over there. And their living conditions are atrocious. Even for the people who have made it a point to not criticize the government and kind of shuffle along with it. And even the people, if I'm not mistaken, the people who are with the government. There has been, I believe now, 6 generals that have just died. It's 6 Cuban generals in Cuba that have died. And if it's not officially 6, clearly 5. And this is being reported everywhere. Now, I understand nobody wants to speculate. Nobody wants to make the assumptions that they're just being killed off. It could be COVID. It could be that they were just old and, coincidentally, within 9 days, 5 of the top brass just had heart attacks. This is what we're up against. It's a killing machine that eats itself. That's what murderous dictatorships are. How do you fight that and depose it peacefully? I know that there was people, of course, there's Mahatma Ghandi with chasing the British out of India. And let's say that the British were clearly acting as a dictatorial force. That one, it was almost easy to shame the British out of India. Not easy, of course. People died. I don't know how many Hindus died in that effort and how many years it took. However, Britain was an occupying force, and they knew this. They also knew that they were in a nation that was thousands of years older than their own civilization. At the back of many of those British soldiers' minds, I would imagine they knew they didn't belong there. Now, we're all one species living on one planet, and we all have to move from time to time. We have to shape shift and adapt to our environments and to constantly changing situations. But people know when they're doing wrong, and especially British soldiers back then. It's kind of a tongue twister, which I don't believe they were all psychopaths. What's going on in Cuba with the Castro regime? These are psychopaths. They do not care who they have to kill. I believe also Fidel Castro's first son supposedly committed suicide. If you try to just read up cursory research on him and all of it from the Washington Post, I don't want to quote for liable defamation or slander purposes, but there isn't a major publication that has written about Fidel Castro's firstborn son's suicide that actually speaks how he killed himself. At least I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it on Wikipedia. I haven't seen it on many of those. From what I understand, he jumped off a building. That's what I heard. The point that I'm trying to make is this is how dictatorships eat themselves in the end. They're such destructive forces that they can never sustain themselves. And that's why I would like to know, how do you peacefully depose such a murderous regime? And especially throughout the footage that I've seen here, it seems like it would just take a military intervention. I can't really, that's the first thing that it would take. It would take a military intervention to completely excise the Castro regime out of Cuba the way you would a tumor in a patient with cancer. And that's how they function. And many people are making that analogy, and rightfully so. And I think the pattern is there. When you look up how cancer forms in a healthy body, from, I believe it's an excess of cells, I think it's the same thing that has happened in Cuba. To not get too sidetracked with that, it is functioning like a cancer. Right now, the obvious first choice or solution would be a military intervention, but we also know the mess that can bring. So how do we do this peacefully? And then set that as an example for other nations. And that's what I would love to know. Like I said, I think the very first thing is bringing awareness, and awareness with irrefutable evidence. That's why I'm incorporating these images into this video. That's why I made that video before. We need to be aware of it. We really need to convince as many, in this case, Castro apologists, they're wrong. And of course, that's another problem. The moment you tell someone they're wrong, a lot of people don't like to hear that. I think that's why a lot of people are still holding on to that. And this is beyond trying to win a debate. I'm not trying to win a debate. I don't think this is about ideology. It's not even about communism. I really don't believe that the Castros, the family, the ones that are truly in power, because not everyone within that family stuck around for that. I don't think those people are communists. They definitely don't live like communists. They don't live like communists at all. They own a lot of private property. They clearly live in luxury. They're hoarding a lot of the food and medical supplies that are sent to Cuba. The embargo is not the problem. I don't know if we're going to be able to shame the Castros out of power. Those people are desperately holding on to power right now. It is a desperate scramble because they know that if that goes down, they are facing crimes against humanity, and they know it. At least Raul Castro, he's going to have to commit suicide. There's just no other way around it. That's why they will not. You can't negotiate with them. You can't think of this as, well, we could do, you can't. It'll never change, ever. They need to be excised out. How do we do this peacefully? The last thing I did want to bring up is watching these videos and seeing all this clear abuse by the police, by the milicianos, the ones that are dressed in green, also by the black berets. Some of these people will need to die. I don't know how else to do it, but I know that a lot, especially I think on the police, the level of the police, a lot of these people are victims of circumstance. How do you weed those out? And that's one of the things that I would love to know. If I'm only for a military intervention, if I could actually go over there myself. I wouldn't call for a military intervention if, I'm not going to go and do it. And I've entertained that idea. I'm pushing 50. I don't think I would be taken seriously as a recruit or anything like that. However, if I was there, who do you kill? How would you know who are the people who are the real psychopaths and who are the victims of circumstance? How do you separate the wheat from the chaff there? Does deposing dictatorships have to be in the form of hand-to-hand combat where you're just giving away your life? I wonder if there's smarter ways of doing this. That's the point of this video. So please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the links down below. And thanks for watching.